Thanks very much for joining us. These are difficult times that are about to get even more difficult for our regional economy, primarily due to events down in Washington. If you didn't realize that, you might want to pay extra attention to our conversation today with the president and CEO of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, Jim Rooney, who tracks the economy closely and is a longtime observer of and participant in policymaking here in the Greater Boston area. Jim, welcome.
Thank you, John.
Good to have you here. So over at BU, business professor Mark Williams has just conducted a long analysis of the economic impact of the Trump administration's policies on Massachusetts. I'll just give you some of the lowlights. Our core industries disproportionately, his word, impacted by tariff hikes, National Institutes of Health grant cuts, and the immigration crackdown, shrinking commerce, growth, tax revenue, and labor supply. By next year, if the tariffs stand up the way they are now, we could lose 80,000 jobs. Any of this surprise you? Does it shock you? What on earth are we going to do about it?
Well, it doesn't shock me. And if I take a step back, John, that is on top of some unnerving trends that were already going on. Our job creation between 2010 and 2019 ranked us 16th in the country, about 15% growth over that time period. Between 2019 and 24, 0% growth, 47th in the country in job creation. Now you layer on job creation or job impacting types of federal policies like tariffs, like research funding, like immigration, and it just exacerbates a tough economic situation for Massachusetts that really was going to be tough anyway. And these are if you look at where our jobs are, high concentrations in research, high concentrations in life sciences and medicine. And this is right in the gut of the Massachusetts economy.
Yeah, not to mention the partial decimation of the tourist industry. The early indications as we enter the peak tourism season is I heard something on the radio about out of 180 countries surveyed, we were the bottom in terms of a destination for international travel.
Yeah, I didn't see that data point, but starting with our neighbor to the north, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine all benefit from Canadian tourism. We know about all those cancellations. But the international tourism that Boston benefits from, not to mention student activity in our colleges and universities, is tremendous. And people were a little afraid. What's going to happen at customs? What's going to happen when I present my paperwork? Am I going to get pulled aside? And I've heard in the conventions and meeting industry that I was in, a lot of the speakers and professors and researchers from other countries are saying, you know what, I'm not coming.
Well, since I doubt a single member of our congressional delegation can get a phone call returned from the White House, what's the business community's role in trying to mitigate some of this, and what's the best way for you and your colleagues to lobby the Trump administration? Yeah,
you know, as you think about federal issues, we're the bluest of blue states, and right now, Republican-controlled White House to House and Senate. So our approach has been coalition building. We've launched a national coalition on research funding, 60 chambers in over 30 states, Alabama, California, Texas, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all promoting the benefits of research funding, both from a scientific perspective, but also from an economic and jobs perspective.
So you're going to come in with these red state partners and try to finesse it that way?
We're going to lobby. We're going to go to Washington. Yeah. We're going to sign on to joint letters. We're going to try to make the case of what is happening at home in your district, Mr. or Mrs. Congressperson, if you do these things.
All right. On that note, let's take a quick break, and we'll continue our conversation with Jim Rooney, CEO of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking about the economy, certainly the state economy and the regional economic challenges that are facing us, to say the least, with Jim Rooney, CEO of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. Jim, you wrote recently in a Dorchester Reporter op-ed, quote, "The upward trajectory of government spending in recent years is unsustainable. The city of Boston will need to reevaluate its approach to spending growth." Is that happening?
It's heading in the right direction. In the fiscal 25 budget that we're in now, when I wrote that, the budget went up 8%, and that follows on to 6 or 7% increase.
That was last year.
Yeah. So this year's proposal is about 4.5%, heading in the right direction. And again, like we talked about earlier in terms of effects on the business community, a lot of this federal activity affects city and state funding as well, so that's uncertain. The other is that spending in the city level in particular, given the structure of city finances, translates into property tax increases. So what we haven't heard yet this year is, what does this mean for residential and commercial property taxes?
Well, you and your colleagues famously tried to work out a deal with Mayor Wu about that, because revenues are expected to crash because of the work-from-home craze. And there's still no deal, no new deal. I mean, is Mayor Wu an anti-business mayor?
I don't know that the mayor is anti-business. I think that she very much is interested in what she feels like is in the best interest of the voters. There's no question about that. And I do think that there's more leaning in that direction than there is on what the Wu administration perceives to be the downtown, the big businesses, the big buildings, in trying to protect the residents, and I'm one of them, from residential property tax increases. The problem is, in a moment that commercial property values have decreased, to increase taxes at the same time was troubling to us. So she's got a tough act right now to kind of implement in terms of how do you balance those two demands.
Will the chamber be making an endorsement in the mayoral
No, we don't do it. As a matter of bylaws, we don't get involved in endorsing.
Okay. Well, listen, one last issue I want to kind of wedge in here. The State Department of Education has proposed interim requirements for graduation. Of course, the voters threw out passage of the MCAST test as a requirement for getting the high school diploma. A new set of standards, permanent standards, is a couple of years away at best. So in the meantime, they've come up with proposals that have been criticized. Mary Tamer, who's an education activist, wrote an op-ed in the Globe the other day saying that they're completely inadequate, that these proposed requirements would put us far below those of nearly every other state. They wouldn't even meet the undergraduate admission requirements for the UMass schools. Yeah. Is that acceptable to you?
Well, I haven't seen what they've recommended. We were against eliminating the MCAST test.
Yeah, I know.
We're very disappointed in the outcome of the vote. We hope that it's quickly dealt with and that there are some standards. We spend a lot of money on education in this state, and we need to know that our children deserve the education that we're paying for, get the education that we're paying for, and standards is one of the ways to measure. You can't even understand how you can best serve a child unless you know how well she or he is doing and progressing. So one of the things that, whatever the state is saying, the cities and towns still have the right to impose standards, and they can keep some of the MCAS if they want to and give some sort of test at the local level. It's up to the cities and towns now.
Wow. Okay. I wish we had more time, but we don't. But I do appreciate you coming by. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, John. Good to be here.
And thank you for joining us. Now, back over to my colleagues for much, much more WBZ News.